Okay, I'll start. Hello, welcome to Storytime with Srta Pikula. I hope that all of you are doing well on this Tuesday of Cinco de Mayo. Arriba! Um, and I hope that all of you are having a great day. And thank you for coming to Storytime with Srta Pikula. I was thinking, because we have 2.5 weeks of school left. That's crazy. The school year has flown by. And I wanted to let all of you know, all of my students out there. So actually, I have 2 shout outs for today. So we'll start with that. So the first shout out's going to go to all my students because, my whole class, the second grade class, because you guys have really made my year. It's been a great year. And it's flown by. Like I said, it's flown by really fast. And it's been just so fun. And you guys are awesome. I had so much fun this year with you guys. This shout out to everyone in the class. And my second shout out goes to my mom and dad, whose wedding anniversary is today. They got married on Cinco de Mayo, and they didn't get married for the reason of celebrating Cinco de Mayo at all, but they got married on this day. I'm trying to remember how many years ago. Hold on, let me do the math. 30. Wait, we're in the year 2020. I can't do math. 36 years ago? Yeah, 36 years ago. I think. I'm pretty sure it's 36 years ago. Yeah. So happy 36th wedding anniversary to my mom and dad. I hope that I got that right. Yeah. So long, happy time together. You guys are great. Love you both. Okay. So we're going to continue reading The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Now, again, I don't know if we're going to finish the story before the end of the school year, but if we don't finish, don't worry, because you guys can find the story and keep reading it, and I'll let you know exactly where we stopped at the end of the year. But we're going to continue. So we met some new characters. So we had Edmund and Lucy, who were staying with their uncle and aunt because Peter was studying with the professor, and Susan got to go with parents to America because they were going to America to her dad for something special with his work. So Susan got to go with them, but Edmund and Lucy had to stay with their uncle and aunt, and with their uncle and aunt's son, whose name was Eustace Scrub. And Eustace Scrub was not the kindest boy. He was kind of negative and mean and didn't like Edmund and Lucy very much, and he liked to make fun of them. And Edmund and Lucy were talking about Narnia for the whole summer. And anyways, they went into Lucy's bedroom, and there was this beautiful painting with a ship on it, with the head of a dragon, and it was a very, very Narnian looking ship. And as Eustace was kind of making fun of them, especially Lucy, for liking this painting, all of a sudden they could feel wind, and they could see. All of a sudden they were in the water, and the painting came to life, and it was hard to tell whether they went into the painting or the painting came out to them and flooded the room. But either way, they are back in Narnia, and they saw the ship, and there was a boy coming down from the ship, and who was only some years older than herself. And anyways, they helped all three of them up onto the ship. And let's continue from there. All right. After her, Edmund was heaved up, and then the miserable Eustace. Last of all came the stranger, a golden-headed boy, some years older than herself. Caspian! Gasped Lucy as soon as she had breath enough. For Caspian it was, Caspian, the boy king of Narnia, whom they had helped to set on the throne during their last visit. Immediately, Edmund recognized him too. All three shook hands and clapped one another on the back with great delight. "But who is your friend?" said Caspian almost at once, turning to Eustace with his cheerful smile. But Eustace was crying much harder than any boy of his age had a right to cry when nothing worse than a wedding has happened to him, and he would only yell out, "Let me go! Let me go back! I don't like it!" "Let you go," said Caspian, but where?" Eustace rushed to the ship's side as if he expected to see the picture frame hanging above the sea, perhaps a glimpse of Lucy's bedroom. What he saw was blue waves flecked with foam and paler blue sky, both spreading out without a break to the horizon. As we can hardly blame him if his heart sank. He was promptly sick. "Hey, Reinolf," said Caspian to one of his sailors, "bring spiced wine for their majesties. You'll need something to warm you after that dip." He called Edmund and Lucy their majesties because they and Peter and Susan had all been kings and queens of Narnia long before his time. Narnia time flows differently from ours. If you spend 100 years in Narnia, you would still come back to our world the very same hour of the same day on which you left. And then if you went back to Narnia after spending 1 week here, you might find that 1,000 Narnian years had passed, or only a day, or no time at all. You never know till you get there. Consequently, when the Pevensey children had returned to Narnia last time for their second visit, it was, for the Narnians, as if King Arthur had come back to Britain, as some people say he will. And I say the sooner the better. Rainulf returned with the spiced wine steaming in a flagon and 4 silver cups. A flagon's like a. It was just what one wanted, and as Lucy and Edmund sipped it, they could feel the warmth going right down to their toes. But Eustace made faces and spluttered and spat it out and was sick again and began to cry again and asked if they had any plum trees and vitaminized nerve food. And could it be made with distilled water? And anyway, he insisted on being put ashore at the next station. "This is a merry shipmate you've brought us, brother," whispered Caspian to Edmund with a chuckle. But before he could say anything, Eustace burst out again. "Ugh, what on earth is that? Take it away, the horrid thing!" He really had some excuse this time for feeling a little surprised. Something very curious indeed had come out of the cabin into the poop deck and was slowly approaching them. You might call it, and indeed it was, a mouse. But then it was a mouse on its hind legs and stood about 2 feet high. A thin band of gold passed around its head under one ear and over the other, and it was stuck with a long crimson feather. As the mouse fur was very dark, almost black, and the effect of the feather was bold and striking. Its left paw rested on the hilt of a sword very nearly as long as its tail. Its balance, as it paced gravely alongside the swaying deck, was perfect, and its manners courtly. Lucy and Edmund recognized it at once. Reepicheep, the most valiant of all the talking beasts of Narnia, and the chief mouse. It had won undying glory in the second battle of Verona. Lucy longed, as she had always done, to take Reepicheep up in her arms and to cuddle him. But this, as she well knew, was a pleasure she could never have. It would only offend him very deeply. Instead, she went down on one knee to talk to him. Reepicheep put forward his left leg, drew back his right, bowed, kissed her hand, straightened himself, twirled his whiskers, and said in his shrill, piping voice, "My humble duty to your majesty, and to King Edmund too." Here he bowed again. "Nothing except your majesty's presence was lacking to this glorious adventure." "Ugh, take it away," wailed Eustace. "I hate mice, and I never could bear performing animals. They're silly and vulgar and sentimental." Am I to understand," said Lucy after a long stare at Eustace, "that this singularly discourteous person is under your majesty's protection? Because if not, At this moment, Lucy and Edmund both sneezed. What a fool I am to keep you all standing here in your wet things, said Caspian. Come on below and get changed. I'll give you my cabin, of course, Lucy, but I'm afraid we have no women's clothes on board. You'll have to make do with some of mine. Lead the way, Rippercheap, like a good fellow. To the convenience of a lady, said the Rippercheap, even a question of honor must give way, at least for the moment. And here he looked very hard at Eustace. But Caspian hustled them on, and in a few minutes Lucy found herself passing through the door into the stern cabin. She fell in love with it at once. The 3 square windows that looked out onto the blue swirling water astern, the low cushioned benches around 3 sides of the table, the swinging silver lamp overhead, dwarf's work, she knew at once by its exquisite delicacy, and the flat golden image of Aslan the lion on the forward wall above the door. All of this she took in a flash, for Caspian immediately opened a door on the starboard side and said, "This will be your room, Lucy. I'll just get some dry things for myself." He was running in one of the lockers while he spoke, "and then I'll leave you to change. If you'll fling your wet things outside the door, I'll get them taken to the galley to be dried." Lucy found herself as much at home as if she had been in Caspian's cabin for weeks, and the motion of the ship did not worry her at all. For in the old days, when she had been a queen in Narnia, she had done a good deal of voyaging and sailing. The cabin was very tiny, but bright with painted panels, all birds and beasts and crimson dragons and vines, and spotlessly clean. Caspian's clothes were far too big for her, but she could manage. Her shoes, sandals, and sea boots were hopelessly big, but she did not mind going barefoot on the board ship. When she had finished dressing, she looked out of her window at the water rushing past and took a long, deep breath. She felt quite sure that they were in for a lovely time. Chapter 2. On board the Dawn Treader. "Ah, there you are, Lucy," said Caspian. "We were just waiting for you. This is my captain, the Lord Drinian." A dark-haired man went down on one knee and kissed her hand. The only others present were Reepicheep and Edmund. "Where is Eustace?" asked Lucy. "In bed," said Edmund, "and I don't think we can do anything for him. It only makes him worse if you try to be nice to him." "Meanwhile," said Caspian, "we want to talk." "By Jove, we do," said Edmund. "And first, about time. It's a year ago since in our time since we left you just before your coronation. But how long has it been in Narnia?" "Exactly 3 years," said Caspian. "All going well?" asked Edmund. "You don't suppose I'd have left my kingdom and put to sea unless all was well," answered the king. "It couldn't be better. There's no trouble at all now between Telmarines, dwarves, talking beasts, fauns, and all the rest. And we gave those troublesome giants on the frontier such a good beating last summer, they pay us tribute now. And I had an excellent person to leave as regent while I'm away. Trunken the dwarf. You remember him." "Oh, dear Trunken," said Lucy. "Of course I do. You couldn't have made a better choice." "Loyal as a badger, ma'am, and as valiant as a mouse," said Drinian. He had been going to say as a lion, but he had noticed Reepicheep's eyes fixed on him. "And where are we heading for?" asked Edmund. "Well," said Caspian, "that's a rather a long story. Perhaps you remember that when I was a child, my usurping Uncle Miraz, my treacherous Uncle Miraz, got rid of 7 friends of my father's who might have taken my part by sending them off to explore the unknown eastern seas beyond the Lone Islands." "Yes," said Lucy, "and none of them ever came back." "Right. Well, on my coronation day, with Aslan's approval, I swore an oath that if once I established peace in Narnia, I would sail east myself for a year and a day to find my father's friends or to learn of their deaths and avenge them if I could. These were their names: the Lord Revelian, the Lord Byrne, the Lord Argaz, the Lord Marvamorn, the Lord Octesian, the Lord Restimar, and, oh, Oh, that other one whose name is so hard to remember. The Lord Roop, sire, said Drinian. Roop, Roop, of course, said Caspian. That is my main intention. But Reepicheep here has an even higher hope. Everyone's eyes turned to the mouse. As high as my spirit, it said, though perhaps as small as my stature. Why should we not come to the very edge of the eastern? Why should we not come to the very eastern end of the world? And what might we find there? I expect to find Aslan's own country. It is always from the east across the sea that the great lion comes to us. I say, that is an idea, said Edmund in an odd voice. But do you think, said Lucy, Aslan's country would ever be that sort of country? I mean, the sort that you could ever sail to? I don't know, madame, said Reepicheep, but there is this. When I was in my cradle, a wood woman, a dryad, spoke this verse to me. Where sky and water meet, where the waves grow sweet, no doubt, doubt not, Reepicheep, to find all you seek. Therein is the utter east. I do not know what it means, but the spell of it has been on me all my life. After a short silence, Lucy asked, And where are we now, Caspian? The captain can tell you better than I, said Caspian. But Drinian got out his chart and spread it on the table. That is our position, he said, laying his finger on it, or was at noon today. We had a fair wind from Cape Paravel and stood a little north of for Galma, which we made on the next day. We were in port for a week, for the Duke of Galma made a great tournament for His Majesty, and there he unhorsed many knights, and got a few nasty falls myself, Drinian. Some of the bruises are still there, put in Caspian. And unhorsed many knights, repeated Drinian with a grin. We thought the Duke would have been pleased that his King's Majesty would have married his daughter, but nothing came of that. Squints, and had freckles, said Caspian. Oh, the poor girl, said Lucy. And we sailed from Galma, continued Drinian, and ran into a calm for the best part of 2 days, and had to row, and then had wind again, and did not make Terabithia till the 4th day from Galma. And there the king sent out a warning not to land, for there was sickness in Terabithia. But we doubted the cap. We doubled the cape and put in a little creek far from the city and water. Then we had to lie off for 3 days before we got a southeast wind and stood out for 7 isles. The 3rd day out, a pirate, Terabinthian by her rig, overhauled us, and when she saw us well armed, she stood off after some shooting of arrows on either part. And we have given her chase and boarded her and hanged her for every mother's son of them, said Reepicheep. And every 5 days more we were in sight of Mule, which, as you know, is the westernmost of the 7 isles, and we rode through the straits and came about sundown into Redhaven on the Isle of Bren, where we were very lovingly feasted and had food and water at will. We left Redhaven 6 days ago and have made marvelously good speed, so that I hope to see the Lone Islands, in the day after tomorrow. The sum is, we are now nearly 30 days at sea and have sailed more than 400 leagues from Narnia. And after the Lone Islands, said Lucy. No one knows, Your Majesty, answered Drinian, unless the Lone Islanders himself can tell us. And that's where we're going to stop for today. And so thanks for watching. And I hope that you all have a great day and do something fun today. And we'll see you next time.